here today for your tremendous service to our country. First of all, Admiral Roughead, you said very well today that it behooves us to minimize our ship retirements by fully funding our maintenance account. And I'd just like to make sure I'm up to speed on where we are in terms of our backlog on maintenance and repair. Trying to keep up with the math, I've got us somewhere between $425 and $450 million on our backlog for maintenance and repair. Am I in the right vicinity there?
What I would say, Mr. Nye, is that as we go through this year, we have not canceled any availabilities. There have been none that have been canceled. We have held to that, and as you know, we make the most of our base budget and our supplemental money or contingency funding, but I've not canceled any availabilities this year.
So where are we in terms of our requirements and what we've got in terms of our maintenance funds? Are you saying that we're up to date on those accounts? Where
we are with regard to, at least for the fiscal year 10 budget, we are funding that account to about 96%, which is consistent with where we have been in years past. And what it allows us to do is to accept some risk as we try to balance all of the competing demands that we have in the Navy. I'm comfortable with where we are, but it's important that the supplemental and also our base budget reflect the request. I would also say that as we try to make that balance and optimize those funds, losing money because of a peacetime training offset as we did last year is not helpful in us being able to meet the requirements and meet the plans that we had in place. So your support in that would be greatly appreciated, sir.
Thank you. I think you've made a great point about balancing a long list of demands and requirements that we have right now. Secretary Penn, you sent me a letter on April 24th where you mentioned that the Navy had decided to postpone a final decision on home porting a nuclear carrier at Mayport until we have a chance to go through the QDR process this year and take a look at balancing these priorities vis-a-vis our scarce defense dollars. And I appreciate your comments in that letter. You mentioned also that DOD would be requesting, and indeed has requested in the 2010 budget, some $75 million for dredging and dock upgrades at Mayport in case of an emergency for a location of a nuclear carrier there at Mayport under emergency circumstances. What I wanted to ask you is, have you considered, given the fact that besides Norfolk, for instance, commercial ports at Baltimore, Corpus Christi, Charleston, and some others that have deep draft depths of between 47 and 50 feet might be appropriate for the use for not for a home port, but for in the case of an emergency docking a nuclear carrier? Have you guys looked at the notion of using a commercial port just in case of an emergency?
I think that in case of an emergency, we would use whatever port available, but our choice would be to go to a Navy port, just for the securities and so forth.
Okay. So you have looked at the idea of having potentially using a commercial port in case of an emergency?
In case of emergency.
Okay. Do you have a contingency plan in place for all of our ships for emergencies, for disasters, for where you would move them or put them? Is that something that you have developed already?
I think the operational side, I'll defer to you.
What I believe we do not have, well, I know we don't have on the East Coast of the United States, is a place where we can put a nuclear aircraft carrier and be able to conduct the type of support and maintenance that we would need on it in any other place other than Norfolk. In the West Coast, we have 3 ports, gives us great strategic flexibility, and that's why I made the recommendation to upgrade the carrier port of Mayport, which has been a carrier port since 1952, to accommodate a nuclear aircraft carrier and be able to take care of it there should Norfolk be lost for any reason. I believe that remains a good strategic option, and we'll get into that further during the quadrennial defense review as to the pros and cons of that.
Thank you. I would be interested in seeing what a full plan looks like for all of our different types of ships and what we would do in case of emergencies. And
Mr. Nye, we have options for our combatants and for our submarines on both coasts, and we can bring up to you what those options are. But on the East Coast, there is no other place to put an aircraft carrier other than Norfolk, Virginia.
Understood. I see that my time has expired. Let me just close by saying that I look forward to continuing to have this very important discussion about the use of our scarce defense dollars and priorities over the course of the upcoming QDR. So thank you.
Thank the gentleman. Mr. Hunter.
Thank you, Mr.